I mean, at this moment, probably
Right.
pretty low.
Okay.
And it's the writing has been on the wall since the off season in terms of the parameters that we were going to have.
Right.
Not the writing has been on the wall that he was going to be fired. That was never a given. He comes out and he starts 5-0, or even if it's a close loss to Penn State, we're probably not talking about this. I'm just talking about the sort of restrictions and the shackles that were put on him in the off season. You go all the way back to February. This thing started to get real rocky, and then recruiting was what it was, and then the transfers were what they were. And then the coaching staff turnover was what it was. And so you just kind of felt that start to way further down and further down to where the tipping point is just easier for the decision makers at Auburn. And you probably didn't need it to be as emphatic, but a big loss like that to Penn State certainly tipped the scales in that direction. Now, I will say anything is possible in college football. I mean,
Sure.
Especially at Auburn. We've seen a lot of crazy stuff happen over the years, but a lot of people make the argument and they say, well, what's even the point if the feeling around the program is that they're going to get rid of him? What's the point of even having him on as Auburn's coach and continuing? Why not just pull the plug right now? Well, it's hard to do that when you're 3-1. Number one,
Yep.
You don't want to just completely pull the rug out from under the program, but a lot of people are saying, well, you run the risk of him. You run the risk of them getting an upset win. You run the risk of them, going 8-4 or 9-3. What happens if that happens? But I think people at Auburn have been watching this team every Saturday, up close and personal.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're fine with taking that risk because I don't think there's a very good chance of that happening. I think they're okay with that being their gamble at this point because, look, I mean, it would take a pretty miraculous turnaround, I think, for him to continue to be the coach in 2023, and you look at what they've got moving forward on the schedule, even what they got to do Saturday. That Saturday would be a big step in the right direction. But you look at Georgia, you look at Ole Miss. If you lose this game against LSU, you got to go on the road against a couple teams. I mean, Ole Miss might be the number 16 in the country if they win on Saturday. Georgia's number 1. If you get smacked in both of those games, I think the decision will be pretty clear for them at that point.